Good afternoon and welcome. I'm told that Arlene would have approved of starting a few minutes late. That's probably the schedule on which she would have arrived for this event. I'm Rabbi Hannah Goldstein, and today we gather to remember and to say farewell to Arlene Fingerhut. We gather with her family, we gather with friends who she knew for generations. We gather for support of her family as they navigate this moment and as we begin to say goodbye to Arlene. Just a note about Shiva. So today we'll begin with a service here in the chapel. We'll continue with the burial of gravesite to David, and then the family is going to be sitting Shiva at the Seneca, where Earl and Arlene lived. And they'll be joining today from 5 to 7 p.m. And tomorrow from 6 to 8 p.m. And just a note about parking. You can park in the garage or the main lot there. And if the lot is full, go to 45 West Hwy Drive. Next door, you can park in the back left corner of the lot and walk over to the Seneca lot. So there's a couple of different options for parking. Now we turn to tradition. Funerals are an opportunity for us to gather, to turn to tradition to guide us in these moments when we aren't quite sure what to do with ourselves. We turn to the words of our tradition to guide us and to be there for us. Adonai, what are we that you have regard for us? What are we that you are mindful of us? You are like a breath. Our days are like a passing shadow. We come and go like grass, which in the morning shoots up renewed, and in the evening fades and withers. You cause us to turn to dust, saying, return, O mortal creatures. Would that we were wise, that we understood whither we are going. For when we die, we carry nothing away. Our glory does not accompany us. Marks for the wholehearted, behold the upright. They shall have peace. Death has taken our beloved Arlene, our friends grieve in their darkened world, in their silence, their lamentation. In their tears there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow, may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God. Be with them. For Arlene's love that united us in life, and which death cannot sever. For her companionship which we shared along life's path, and which continues with the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of her heart and mind that brought us joy and happiness. It is now precious remembrance. For all these and more, we give our thanks to God. In this time of grief, we listen to the voice of our sacred scriptures that bring us the ever-new message of God's nearness. It tells us of our kinship with the Creator in light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, in life as in death. We turn to the words of Psalm 23. Adonai, Adonai is my shepherd. I shall not want. God makes me lie down in green pastures, leads me beside still waters, and restores my soul. You lead me in my paths for the sake of your name, even when I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You have set a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You have anointed my head with oil, my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of God forever. guys working on the sound? Yeah? Is it, okay, great, thank you. We turn to these words, and I invite you to read responsibly. We remember her. That's the refrain of this reading. In the rising of the sun and it's going down, we remember her. In the blowing of the wind and the chill of winter, we remember her. In the opening of buds and the rebirth of spring, we remember her. In the rustling of leaves and the beauty of autumn, we remember her. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we remember her. When we are weary and in need of strength, we remember her. When we are lost and sick at heart, we remember her. When we have joys we yearn to share, we remember her. As long as we live, she too shall live, for she is now a part of us, as we remember her. We turn out to eulogies, which is really the heart of the Jewish funeral. It's an opportunity for us to begin to tell the stories of Arlene's life, and there are a lot of stories, and I know that each of you who sits here this afternoon carries some of those stories. You have a piece of her memories, and so today is just the beginning. Shiva is another opportunity for us to continue to tell those short stories, and in the days and weeks and months to come, I urge all of you, when you think of your best Arlene stories, to send them to her family so that they can continue to remember her through you and to share your memories. Today we're going to begin with David Cantor, a longtime friend, and the person who has the honor of saying that he's helped set up Earl and Arlene. So that's quite a distinction. David, come join us.
Well, certainly I'll offer the same. What an honor it is to be asked, and then I thought about it, and I think that the family really wanted her out by the camp. You got me. Without love, there is no grief. So while we're all here today grieving at the loss and the passing of Arlene, we are grieving because of our love for her. Arlene was selfless, sweet, genuine, pleasant, kind, and always wanting to do the best for all who she came into contact with, whether it be her family or for everyone else that came into her life. I know that you feel that you married the very best wife that a husband could hope to have, and you did. Earl, you and I have been friends for more than 60 years. And when I look back on those moments that we had together, and there were many, I have to put at the top of the lesson that Thor and I shared, to have brought you and Arlene together through an introduction. You, my friend, and Arlene, Laura's friend. And the two of you proved us right in making that introduction, for sharing more than 54 years together in a beautiful, loving marriage. Flora and I were honored and blessed to stand in your parents' living room, Arlene, cherish and love each other. You both kept that promise, as all of us sitting here today know. So very well. Arlene and Earl acted on that promise to cherish and love each other, and we're blessed to have the good fortune to have raised and shared two very kind and loving children, Amy and Eric. And the icing on the cake is to have a special grandchild, Lee Hwy, to come into both of your lives. And a wonderful daughter-in-law in Kara, and a wonderful son-in-law in Kara. Earl, I know you wish that you and Arlene are going on forever. But since that isn't the way it works, I know that you and Amy and Eric will cherish every day that each of you had together, and that all the good memories will sustain all of you, and that your grief today will turn only to fond memories as a continuation of your love for her. Without love, there is no grief. May her memory be blessed.
Thank you, David. We turn now to Eric and Seth.
When I was young, I thought I had an advantage in school compared to the other kids. My mom had been an elementary school teacher, so it seemed to me that she knew everything. When I had chicken pox in 4th grade, she called my teacher and got on to work for the week and then assigned it to me. She gave me a spelling test and checked my math homework. She could read my book reports and tell me where my grammar was wrong or where a sentence didn't make sense. But it wasn't always foolproof. I remember doing a book report on a biography of Helen Keller, and the book said one thing about it, biography detail, but my mom was adamant that the book was wrong. I went with my mom because how come I want to be wrong? Well, my teacher said she was wrong, but when I told my mom, she still insisted she was correct. My mom always was there to protect me. As a kid, I got homesick easily and separated from my family. I could barely make it for a sleepover at a neighbor's house, let alone the fact that outdoor education required in 6th grade. My mom took it worse than me when I said I didn't want to go to sleepaway camp over the summer. And when it was time to go away to college, she never directly said it, but I got the feeling she was a little worried about whether I was going to survive being a 4-hour drive away from home. I remember it was a Wednesday when I moved into the dorms at Duke, and as they left, my dad told me to call them on Sunday after a big freshman class event to let them know how things were going, and then they drove off. I was sad for a few minutes, then walked back to my dorm. Everything was fine. And the first time I called as instructor was Sunday night when I got back from that speech. My dad answered the phone, and I heard my mom immediately screaming in the background, surprised, and I guess relief. I can't believe you waited to call until now. Some might say the story shows my mom didn't have confidence out of me, but I think it really shows she just wanted to make sure it would be okay. She ended up becoming a huge youth basketball fan after the famous Christian Laettner shot in 1992 NCAA tournament win against Kentucky, just to make sure people who don't know, there were 2 seconds left. Duke was down by 1, and then elsewhere went to the court past Christian Laettner sunk the shot to win the game. I came back to my dorm room after celebrating. There were 2 messages on my answer machine. The first was from my dad, clearly left, and there were still 2.1 seconds left in the game. Eric, too bad you lost. It was a great season. I'll talk to you later. And then the very next message up a few seconds later was from my mom. Eric, your father's an ass. I told him to wait till after the game. My mom was always my biggest champion. I was a year or 2 out of college, and there was an item in the Washington Post about the then congressman from Ohio named Arlene Fingerhut. He had bought a house in D.C. The next day there was another story. The whole thing was a mix-up. It wasn't the congressman who bought the house in D.C. It was a lawyer in D.C. also named Arlene Fingerhut. Well, Arlene Fingerhut did not let that stand. She told me later that day that she had called the writers of the Post to tell them that there was a third Arlene Fingerhut in D.C. and they should do a story on me. She was very disappointed when they told her, oh, I think we're done with that story. And And my mom was so thrilled that Karen and I were going to give her a grandchild. One of the first things she said when she was told a couple months ago she didn't have much time left was, I'm going to miss you guys for mitzvah. She won't be there physically, but she'll be there.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Eric. We will definitely remember her at your bar mitzvah, Eli. And I will just say my daughter has a onesie with that basketball play on it. So it's a big, I knew that we were a kindred experience. Amy, and now Arlene, your daughter, to my church
Y'all that know me, I'm not good at not getting emotional, so it's a dad trait, actually. So you just heard from the introvert child, now you heard the extrovert child. You think when you have a brother that's 3 years older, mom would have experienced certain things. Well, not the case for Eric and I. I brought all types of new things to throw at mom, and she handled all of them with grace. For example, the time when I first came home after having a bit too much alcohol. Instead of scolding me, she held my hair back over the toilet as I was not well deep into the night and waited to have a conversation about it the next day. On one of their July visits to Atlanta, she realized I was dating someone that I did not feel I wanted to disclose to my parents. Instead of confronting me, she wrote me a long letter a week later, telling me that no matter who I dated or what I chose, she would always support me and love me. That was how special my mom was. Mom and Dad were going to buy their first house and move to Potomac before I was born. Dad said he'd saved a decent amount of money, and he asked Mom what she was contributing. She opened her closet and said, here is what I have. Tons of shoes and an outfit for everything. She could not wait to hand that trick down to her daughter. She took me to Logan's at a very young age, remembers Logan's, and taught me how to shop. Boy, did we shop. We shopped in Maryland, we shopped in Florida, we shopped in Atlanta. Eventually, I was able to shop for her and bring her wardrobe to her in all the later years. I had to return all of the lessons and the long trips to Tyson's any way that I could. I then got her into jewelry, and every time I bought a piece of jewelry, she wanted the same thing. I was like, well, that's not going to work, because then what am I going to have left that I don't already own? It was another wonderful thing though for us to share. Mom was not very fond of travel. Yes, we very much did here. But we never missed a spring or winter in Florida. When Dad couldn't come, we still went, and I usually got to bring a friend. Those were my favorite trips as it was time with Mom and Grandma. There were so many other firsts, or mother-daughter moments that we shared through life. Dallas and Falcon Crest were a Friday night ritual at the early age of 8 for me, and now you would never let a kid watch that show at 8 years old. And we never missed those nights and added more through the years. We continue to share all of our TV show critique for the rest of her life when she could still watch. Taking me to get my nails done at 3 years old and teaching me I should always have my nails looking nice. Yet then she had to start taking it a little bit more regularly to have them painted as she had instilled how important it was. She never missed a Thursday manicure with Maria, which, by the way, went for 50 years with Maria, which also meant we got to go out for dinner on Thursdays as there was no issues messing up those nails. She saw Maria for the rest of her life, and I made sure my nails were always done. One of the last times we spent together in the past few months of her sickness was me giving her a manicure and pedicure in her apartment. Everyone raved how good they looked and made her feel like $1,000,000 for that moment. Mom had no cooked meals for us, usually 5 nights a week. Not TV dinners or heated up food, homemade. She made a house a home. She celebrated all of our accomplishments in life and was so proud. She could never run a mile, nor did she want to, but was waiting by the phone for me to call after every marathon to listen and cheer me on from afar. My mom had a group of friends that were truly family, a couple of them for 70+ years and others for 50+ years. 5 of them together formed the birthday group. They would have dinners twice a year, in March and September. Gifts would only be given on the big birthdays every 5 years, But these two dinners were some of the most important nights of the year. Nothing could stop my mom from being there. One of those friends, Rose, Mom met at a club called 100 Club. This was a club that raised money by selling items, or what my mom would now have called dreck, and holding luncheons. Rose and Mom would have to schlep all over for these keychains and straw bags, as they were the chairs of the dreck committee. The club eventually folded, but her friendship with Rose mattered for the rest of her life as the rest of the women that she met in this club and the birthday group. She was a loyal friend to everyone she could be. She taught me to make friends everywhere I would go and be nice. As Eric alluded to, Mom was a teacher prior to having kids. Her grammar was always right in her mind and corrected us over and over again. The phone would ring at those nightly dinners, and I would answer as I was closest to the phone, and I believed it had to be for me anyway. But I would say, "This is her." She would correct me every single time. "This is she." Eventually caught on by about the time I was 25. When Mom was diagnosed with Parkinson's, she was determined to live as much as she could with the disease and not let it define her. She took a bad fall in May of 22, which resulted in a broken femur. We did not think she would walk again, but no, she amazed us. She spent months in therapy and got back out there ready to tackle whatever was thrown at her. The cancer was not one she could fight, yet again spent most of her last 10 weeks laughing, bossing us all around, going through pictures and telling amazing stories she remembered from her childhood into her adult years. A really good one too, of a bad first date that I videoed. Oh, it's great stuff. Again, having that same grace as she did when we were kids. She was the best mom I could ever dream of. She was an incredible mother-in-law to Kevin and took every single thing he threw at her. She took it with grace again, but a lot of times she threw it right back. She was my rock my whole life. We spoke almost every single day for most of my adult life. It could be 5 minutes or 55 minutes, but we shared so much. My world would never be the same without her. But I feel so damn lucky I got almost 52 great years with her. May she rest in peace. And Mom, I promise I will wear a coat when it's cold. I will put whatever nice shoes you would love, and I will continue to make you proud for the rest of my years.
Arlene was a daughter, who was an elder sister to Barbara, who was a beloved companion to Earl of nearly 55 years. She was a dedicated mother to Amy and Eric, a mother-in-law to Kevin and Kara, and a devoted grandmother to Lee Hwy. Arlene was also a dependable friend with lifelong friends as close as family, and she relished these roles. And in each case, she shared her love generously. Arlene's was an American Jewish story that started in Baltimore. When Barbara was born, they moved up to Upper Marlboro to be closer to the family's stores, dry goods, and clothing. The stores were the center of their lives. The shoes, in particular. They moved from Upper Marlboro to Tight Chase. Family lore says that this move was inspired by Arlene's impending dating years, and her parents hoped that there'd be some nice Jewish boys for her to date in Tight Chase. Arlene was outgoing and social, a dancer, both ballet and tap. She broke rules that it had never occurred to her parents to set, teaching them to tighten the reins before Barbara got a little older. Arlene went to the University of Maryland, and after a few days, she returned home, spending a bit more time working before she returned to school. And when she returned to school, she had a teaching degree, 3 years, making up for lost time. She was a lifelong teacher in a classroom before Eric was born, and then as a substitute when Eric and Amy got a bit older. She worked as the office manager at the Ivy School for nearly 30 years, and she used her expertise in teaching in the way she parented her children. As you heard, she was a dedicated mother, supporting Amy and Eric in their strengths and allowing them, with all of their Arlene welcomed Kara and Kevin, and she was a devoted and present grandmother to Eli. She was there and supportive, spending as much time with Eli as possible. And Eli wanted to make sure that we acknowledged her blueberry pancakes, which she always prepared for him when he slept over there. And even when Arlene's health began to decline, she figured out ways to be there for Eli, never wanting to compromise time with him. When I met with Arlene's family, I had the good fortune of hearing Earl tell the story of how he and Arlene met. Earl is, as I'm sure many of you know, a great storyteller, thorough, and very funny at times. The story of Earl and Arlene's meeting was mixed with pain and tragedy as they reconnected at Shiva, the father and father-in-law of beloved friends. All of these decades later, we gather with heavy hearts to remember Arlene, but we also remember that alongside mourning and grief, love exists. There's a Talmudic teaching in Judaism that if a funeral procession passes through town and it intersects with the wedding procession, it's the funeral procession that's meant to step aside to let the wedding procession pass by first. And it's a reminder that even in times of grief and sadness, love always comes first. So today, we gather as a community of mourners, united by a shared love for Arlene and her family. A community of mourners who have been embraced by Arlene's love. And as we begin to imagine a life without Arlene in it, we promise to live the lessons that she taught by the way that she lived, and to support each other, following her example, each of us a vessel for her abundant love. We take a few moments now of silence for our own memories and reflections. We turn now to the words of Elmore, meaning the end of Arlene's life was challenging. We pray now that she is at peace. We invite you to please rise. Compassionate God, eternal spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Arlene Fingerhut, who has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let her find refuge in your eternal presence, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is her inheritance, may she rest in peace. And let us together say, Amen. Please be seated. this portion of our service, we're going to follow the limousine out to the cemetery at King David, and that will follow in our cars in a procession, and that will take us to the burial site. You can grab your jackets, and do whatever you need to do, but make your ways to your cars, and we'll meet again out in the cemetery. And this concludes our service. We'll let the family first. Oh, here it is. It's working. Yeah. So we did most of the service indoors, although I heard Arlene did not love the cold. She gave us the best possible January day we possibly could have had in this stretch of days. But what we're going to do here is relatively brief. We are going to say our final farewells to Arlene. There's something very beautiful about doing a burial in a cemetery when a family has deep roots in history in a community, because it feels like a bit of a homecoming when you look around at the other gravestones. She's being buried right next to her parents, and I imagine many of you are from old Washington families that you probably know other people in the neighborhood. And there's something, Jews don't have a clear picture of the afterlife, so I don't want to overpromise, but there's something so beautiful about the idea of Arlene returning to a community of which she and her family were a part for such a long time. So I'm going to offer a poem, and then we're going to do the ritual of Kabura, which I will explain in a moment. Mourning is the price we pay for having the courage to love others. Even in grief, we know that the wonder of human life is too complex and too magnificent to be memorialized in endless pain. The gifts of spirit our loved ones gave us cannot be measured or weighed, nor can they be lost or even tarnished by time. Even in our darkest hours, we know that some of their light and their warmth will always be with us, bringing comfort and courage, and in the fullness of time, healing and peace. What we're going to do now is the ritual of Kabura, putting earth on the casket. This is one of the highest mitzvot that we can participate in Jewish tradition. It is a mitzvah for which Arlene can never thank us, and that is giving her a dignified burial. And we do this reluctantly. None of us wants to be here. None of us wants to be performing this mitzvah, and yet we do it out of a sense of obligation and love for Arlene. So what we're going to do is shovel earth onto the casket. There's a few kind of customs that go along with it. So sometimes people use the back of the shovel as a way of demonstrating their reluctance, and often people will, shovel a few shovelfuls of earth. Sometimes people return the shovel to the pile rather than to hand it to the next person, again, demonstrating their reluctance, not trying to move things along quickly. And once anyone who's had wants to participate in that ritual does so, we'll come back together and we'll say the mourner's Kaddish. I just ask you, it is a beautiful day. It's still snowy and slippery and icy, so just watch your steps. We're not in a rush. Be careful. And then we'll come back here and say the Kaddish together. I'm going to invite the immediate family to go first, and then anyone else who'd like to join.
Together, or you can try. It's up to you. So we get 2 scoops. Yeah, that'll be good. Good number. Barb, do you need a hand? No. You guys can stand right behind Barbara. Yeah, so much space. Did you want to sign it? are still here, and it's our job to take the lessons that we learn from the person that we love and to continue to live those lessons into the world, to continue to share their memories and their legacy. And so I invite all of you to rise if you're able, to join with me in the words of the mourners added. Vitkara Shmerava, Yama Zirafrute, Yamik Mapute, B'chai Hon of Yomechon, B'chai Lecho, Beit Yisrael, Bagalav Izman Kariv Yimru Amen, Yehi Shmei Rava Mevarach Le'olam Omei Amaya, Yitzvarach V'yishabach V'yishpa'ar V'yishramam V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar V'yitalev V'yitalal Shmei Kudusha B'richu, Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, damiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba mishemaya, l'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom mimromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May God grant peace to those who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved among us. Oh, say shalom bimroma, uya say shalom. Aleinu le'al kol Yisrael, Our job up until this moment has been to focus on Arlene, to make sure that she had the dignified burial that she deserved. And now, as we leave the cemetery, our focus shifts to the mourners, to Arlene's family. And our job is to make sure that they're taken care of, that they're surrounded by love and memories as they move forward from this difficult moment. And so I'm going to ask you to repeat after me as we offer them a prayer, and then they're going to lead us out of the cemetery. Repeat after me. May God console you with all who mourn in Zion and Jerusalem. Hamakom yinachem etchem b'toch sha'ar avilei Zion v'Yerushalayim. Now go forth in peace to life. This concludes our service. We're going to invite first Chris to lead us back to tough for anyone. Careful. Get back on the back. Yeah, on the back.
May the angels carry you. May the angels carry you. At this time of transition, going to the light. At this time of transition, go crossing the threshold, wrapped in God's embrace. May the angels carry you. 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 Surrounded by love, angels take your hand, guiding you on. It's part of the plan.